afternoon and thank you for joining us on Future TV. I'm Yumna Naufal and these are today's top stories. The death toll from twin car bombs in the northern city of Tripoli rises to 47 as investigations into the attacks continue. The Security Council of the United Nations condemns the bombings, asking the Lebanese to stick to the Babda Declaration, whereby the association policy towards Syria. And the Pentagon moved forces into place in case President Obama opts for military action against Syria, according to U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. The death toll from twin car bombs in the northern city of Tripoli has risen to 47 as investigations into the attack continue. Security sources say about 300 people wounded in the bomb blast on Friday were still hospitalized, while others who only had mild wounds have returned to their homes. Military experts are inspecting the blast scenes to identify the cars used in the large bombings outside the Al Salam Mosque on Tripoli's Ma'arad Street and the Taqwa Mosque near Abu Ali roundabout. The sources say that the explosive used outside the Al Salam Mosque weighed around 175 kilograms. The incident that sparked fears of sectarian strife continued to draw political condemnation as the United Nations and Iran denounced the blasts. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and the Security Council condemned the two bomb explosions and urged that those responsible be brought to justice.
The members of the Security Council underlined the need to bring the perpetrators to justice. The members of the Security Council appealed to all Lebanese people to preserve national unity in the face to attempts to undermine the country's stability and stressed the importance for all Lebanese parties to respect Lebanon's policy of disassociation and to refrain for any involvement in the Syrian crisis.
Hezbollah condemns the explosions in Tripoli, saying the attacks seek to divide the region by inciting sectarian clashes. The party condemned the deadly attack and said it was a continuation of a project that seeks to drag Lebanon into chaos and fulfill the goals of the Zionist regime and those backing it. The party said it stands united with its brothers and people of Tripoli in these tragic times when innocent blood is spilled without any reason. It also called on local figures to be wise enough and refrain from responding to what Hezbollah describes as rumors and accusations that seek to destroy the country and its people. On the line with us to discuss this further is MP Dr. Ahmed Fatfat. Mr. Fatfat, can you hear me?
Yes.
Dr. Fatfat, who do you think is behind this blast?
We don't know exactly, but we know that we are now a contention from what is going on in Syria after the application of Hezbollah in the Syrian war directly. So I cannot accuse anyone now. We need to have more investigation. I don't know if we can know any time, but I am sure that it is a political responsibility to Hezbollah because he didn't respect the policy of dissociation that his government have in store, and he is so implicated now in the war in Syria.
Right, but Dr. Fatfat, do you think that it is possible that those who were responsible for last week's attack on Dahieh are the same people responsible for the Tripoli blasts?
It is possible. They can be related to, for example, to the Syrian regime, who is interested to see the Lebanon completely in a very bad situation. As Assad said before, that if his regime is attacked, he will make put in fire all the Middle East. And for the Middle East, we are the weakness part of the Middle East as Lebanon. We cannot do that with Israel or with Turkey. So he tried to transfer the civil war to Lebanon. So it is a possibility, and it is a serious possibility. But we cannot blame only the Syrian regime. We have to blame also his allies in Lebanon, and who put out really a very big danger against the country.
Dr. Fatfat, do you expect the situation, because this is what all the analysts are saying, they're expecting the situation to get worse and that there be more bombings of this kind. Do you expect that as well?
Yes, it is possible because I listened to what Mr. Nasrallah said a week before when he said that the bombing will be all over the Lebanon, and then the chief of the army said the same thing. So we are afraid that happen. We have only one way to get out. This is the question. To get out, we have only one way.
Well, what's the way? What's the way to get out?
To the association politics. We go completely from Syria and to a total deployment from the Lebanese army all along the Syrian-Lebanese frontier, to stop every transfer of armed men of arms. And if we don't have the possibility, we can ask the United Nations to help us.
Right, but Dr. Fatfat, until today, there remains no government in place in Lebanon, and different parliamentarians and different members of parliament are not being able to agree on the different laws that they need in order for all of them to be together and dissociate themselves from Syria. So don't you think that also is having repercussions on the country, the fact that there is no credible governing body right now in Lebanon?
Oh, if I understand well the question, because I didn't hear very well, I think that is not a problem of government, to be honest.
I was just saying that because there's no government yet, right? Everything is you know, they're still having a lot of discussions in Parliament.
I didn't hear very well. Sorry.
I'm saying because there is no government right now, do you think that is also not helping Lebanon with all these bombings, because everything is a chaos in a way? There's no...
Yes, it is a possibility, but the government will not solve anything, because the situation is a politically confusing situation and very complicated, not only because of absence of the government, no, because there is a big difference in our attitude about Lebanon. We are interested by the interests of Lebanon. The Hezbollah is interested by the interests of Iran. This is the big deal, that we are in a real confrontation, and we need that Hezbollah accept that the interests of the country have to pass, and then everything can be solved.
Can you just finish by telling me what is the situation today in Tripoli?
Oh, it is acceptable in Tripoli today. I think that the reaction of the people was very responsible, and I think that the army and the ISF are doing their job to control the town and all the issue of the town. So I think that it is completely under control for the moment.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being with us today, Dr. Fatfat. We look forward to talking to you again soon. Footage shot by an independent journalist for Britain's ITV News appears to show victims of the alleged chemical attack that activists say killed more than 1,300 people. An unnamed survivor of the attack shown in the video says he had gone to investigate a small explosion that he heard, but smelt a strange odor. Another witness said that the explosions from the 12 missiles that fell on the area were not loud, so residents thought the attack was further away. Opposition activists have said that a number of people who gave medical help to victims died due to exposure to these chemicals. The weapon experts have said that this could point to the possible use of a nerve agent. This all comes as Angela Kane, the High Representative for Disarmament Affairs, has arrived in Damascus to push for access to the site of the attack for UN inspectors who are already in Syria to investigate previous chemical attack claims. The Pentagon is moving forces into place in case President Barack Obama opts for military action against Syria, according to U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. Amid calls for military intervention after the Syrian regime carried out an alleged chemical weapons attack this week, U.S. commanders have prepared a range of options for Obama if he chooses to launch an attack on the Damascus regime. This is what Hagel said to reporters aboard his plane en route to Malaysia. He spoke as a defense official, said the U.S. Navy will expand its presence in the Mediterranean with a fourth warship armed with cruise missiles. The Pentagon chief and other defense officials made clear no decision had been taken on whether to employ military force against President Bashar al-Assad's regime. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani acknowledges for the first time chemical weapons had killed people in Syria, and he is calling for the international community to prevent their use. Rouhani stopped short of saying who had used the arms. Tehran has previously accused Syrian rebels of being behind what it calls suspected chemical attacks. But he also did not mention the international furor around Syrian opposition reports that forces loyal to the Damascus government killed as many as 1,300 civilians with poison gas in suburbs of Damascus on Wednesday. Syria's government denies using such weapons, and Iran's foreign minister earlier this week said groups fighting Syrian President al-Assad in a 2-year-old rebellion must have been behind what he then said was just a suspected attack. Still to come in our program, thousands of Egyptians protest against military rule, and they gather in several cities despite tight security. We'll be back in a bit. Welcome back. Thousands of Egyptians protesting against military rule are gathering in several cities despite very tight security. Anti-coup protesters are defying the curfew in Helwan, Minya, and Nasr City following peaceful protests in the capital, Cairo. Supporters of the country's deposed president, Mohamed Morsi, are demonstrating in small rallies to avoid confronting a heavy military deployment across the country. Security and military forces are deploying around Cairo, closing off traffic in some major thoroughfares and in the city center. In the southern Mahdi district, several thousand protesters are marching from the Ar-Rayyan Mosque to Arab Square, chanting "Coup, coup," and "Down with military rule." Still in Egypt, it has reopened its border crossing with the Gaza Strip after 4 days of closure, allowing stranded passengers to cross in and out of the Palestinian territory, which is controlled by the Islamist Hamas group. Hamas, an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood, has ruled Gaza since 2007 and has an uneasy relationship with Egypt's new army-backed leadership, which toppled elected President Mohamed Morsi, a Hamas ally, last month. Thousands of Palestinians, including students and patients seeking medical treatment, have been unable to travel to Egypt since the Rafah border crossing was shut, and hundreds wanting to return home have been stranded outside the Gaza Strip. And now for news around the world in brief. At least 29 people killed and about 50 others wounded at a prison in eastern Bolivia. Clashes between rival gangs ended up in a huge fire. Officials say the incident began when a group of inmates broke into another sector of the prison, setting a huge fire fueled by exploding propane gas tanks. Bodies have been taken to the morgue for autopsies and identification. Ousted Chinese politician Bo Xilai has accepted responsibility for $817,000 in funds he is accused of embezzling, which ended up in his wife's bank account. Bo says he has let his attention wander in testimony read out in court during his third day of trial. Once a rising star in China's leadership, he is now facing charges of corruption, bribery, and abuse of power in China's most dramatic trial since the Gang of Four were dethroned in 1976. And still in China, a river flood caused by torrential rains has killed 76 people and left another 88 missing in the northeastern Chinese city. A statement by the Fushun city government has declared a citywide day of condolence and ordered that all public entertainment activities should be halted for the day. Located in a mountainous area, Fushun has been hit hard by floods ravaging China's northeastern provinces this month. Dozens more have been reported killed elsewhere in the region by the floods. A jury of U.S. Army officers has convicted Major Nidal Hassan on all 13 charges of premeditated murder and all 32 charges of attempted premeditated murder for the November 2009 shooting spree at Fort Hood, Texas. The convictions mean Hassan could face the death penalty by lethal injection. The jury will begin hearing the penalty phase of the court-martial on Monday and make a recommendation to the judge who will determine the sentence. For Hassan to be eligible for the death penalty, the jury needs to find he killed at least 2 people, and at least one of those has to be a unanimous premeditated murder conviction. This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Let me remind you of our headlines. The death toll from twin car bombs in Tripoli rises to 47 as investigations into the attacks continue. The Security Council of the United Nations condemns the bombing, asking the Lebanese to stick to the Babda Declaration, whereby the disassociation policy towards Syria. And the Pentagon moves forces into place in case President Obama opts for military action against Syria, according to U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. Those are your Saturday headlines live on Future Television. Please be here tomorrow at 4:20. Linda Tamim will be with us for all the latest in Lebanon and the world.
فتحنا أبواب اللهيب، أبواب جهنم على البلد.